It's day 2 of Star Wars week, and I have a pimple on my face. Today we're talking about Attack of the Clones, Star Wars Episode 2, aka the Purple Lightsaber film. Here's Mace Windu. Look, Samuel L. Jackson with his purple lightsaber. He's cool. This was an interesting one to rewatch, because this was one I wasn't really sure how I would take to. A lot of people these days, and it wasn't so much, this wasn't really the case back in the day when it was new, but a lot of people these days think it's worse than The Phantom Menace. And I remember liking it more than The Phantom Menace. But rewatching it, I can see what people are saying. Attack of the Clones, when this film is bad, it's way worse than The Phantom Menace. On the other hand, when it's good, it's really damn good. Attack of the Clones is basically a film of two parts. It's there's a story of Anakin and Padme falling in love, and Anakin getting the first taste of the dark side due to the death of his mother. But it's also the story of Obi-Wan doing espionage and finding out about the clone troopers and eventually Count Dooku, and of course it all just collides into one big plot at the end. And the only big problem with this film is Anakin and Padme. And it's because they're so poorly written. Anakin is written... I mean, he's meant to be a teenager. He's meant to be a cocky, rebellious teenager. And he is. He's written like a teenager like that would be written. Like, imagine a teenager wrote a teenager. Like, it feels like Anakin wrote this story. Because it's all about, like, oh, it's so unfair. They don't see my true abilities. They don't understand me. And, like, yeah, he should behave like that. But it's done very much from a, man, Anakin is right point of view. Like, it doesn't really work. And that's a shame. That's a shame. And Padme is just, once again, pointless. Like, she's just meant to be like a price put on her head, like assassins are after her. And she doesn't seem, it seems like she doesn't care at all. Like, Natalie Portman doesn't care. She really does not care. And, thankfully, she gets to be a badass at the end and have a cool fight sequence with a monster. Like, that's the only thing she gets to do in this film. But I really do like the Obi-Wan scenes. Obi-Wan, he starts off with the whole like chase through Coruscant, which I feel like is a really good chase. It's exciting and it looks cool, and it was cool to see Coruscant's like downtown areas for the first time. And then when he starts talking to Dex, that's another thing. Like, we got to see casual life in Star Wars, which we almost never get to see. And then it falls to trying to find Kamino, and of course, all the Kamino scenes are glorious. They're really good. They feel very James Bond. Like, you have Obi-Wan and Jango Fett talking to each other with that old Bond and Bond villain kind of going at each other attitude, and it's really good. It's really good. And the fight between the two is arguably one of the best fights in the series, I would say. It's one of the few times where it starts off with lightsaber combat against a blaster, and it's actually kind of even, and then they both lose the blaster and the lightsaber, and they go into melee combat. So you have like you have Obi-Wan use like the Force speed to go punching Jango Fett in the face and stuff like that. It's really, really good, and it's beautiful with the rain, and yeah, Jango Fett is awesome, and Obi-Wan is awesome, and then it leads to Geonosis and Dooku, and of course Christopher Lee. I can't reach his figure, but I have it over there. I don't think you can see it. He's great. He's always great. And Count Dooku is kind of an underwhelming character in this film, but still, he's played with such like perfect majesty from the late Christopher Lee that it's a joy to behold. And the Colosseum fight is awesome, and the fight at the end with like Dooku defending himself from one Jedi to two Jedi to three Jedis, and only when he's fighting Yoda is he finally outmatched, and it's hinted that Yoda is his old master, and he escapes, and it's just, and of course the first hints towards the Death Star plans, and you also have this, the smallest thing, like when Jar Jar Binks give Palpatine the power to actually go through with the clone army, like that, the very subtle manipulation of Jar Jar prior to that to make him want to do this in the name of Naboo is clever. It's good. It belongs in a good film. And then the Anakin and Padme scenes exist and just punch the film to death. Oh, I mean, people go on about the sand thing. The I hate sand. It's sand scene. That's not the worst one. The worst one is actually the first. The first time Anakin and Padme meet each other in the film, Padme is like, "Annie, my God, you've grown," which, you know, is a pretty natural thing to say when you've not seen someone for years. And Anakin's response, and this is like, if this was meant to be like dorky, haha, Anakin is such a little teenage, dork, like he doesn't know what to say, it would be one thing, but because of the way Anakin's presented at the front of the film, it just becomes grating. His response is, "Yeah, so have you. I mean, more beautiful. For a senator. I mean." It's like, wow! That line is bad. That line is terrible. And it continues with this. Like, there are good Anakin scenes in here. Like, I'm not gonna shit all over Hayden Christensen's entire performance, because honestly, most of it is because of that awful script. Because there are scenes where he comes across. Sorry about the monitor that was giving good light went off there. There are scenes where he's coming across just fine. In fact, when he's with Obi-Wan, he tends to do quite alright. But yeah, damn, all the romance dialogue, like, it's not good. It's not good. And like I will say this though, the scene where Anakin follows his nightmares and finds when he goes to Tatooine, when he first meets Watto, and Watto doesn't recognize him. He sees that he's a Jedi, but doesn't know who he is. I really like the small touch of, it's not that he recognizes Annie. He recognizes Annie's skills, because Anakin picks up the pit droid and quickly fixes what's wrong with it and puts it back, and that's when Watto goes, "Annie? Annie!" And I like that. That's a really, really clever, small little touch to the film that I hadn't really noticed until that rewatch. And following that as well, when he goes to find Shmi, his mother, and he slaughters the Sand People and all that stuff because he starts falling to the dark side. I'm okay with that, but after that, there's a scene where he's fixing things in the in a workshop. Because he's basically having PTSD there. He's trying to deal with the fact that he lost his mother, so he goes to do what he knows he can do, fixing things. And he talks about it like, "I'm good at fixing things, I could always fix things, but people are hard because you can't just repair them." And while the dialogue is still, the actual scene itself is good. It's a good scene. It's a very natural reaction from Anakin there. And you sort of get a peek at the kind of good film that was hiding beneath it. Basically, the dialogue specifically needed to be heavily rewritten in this film. The rest ain't that bad. It gets boring at times, because it kind of drags its feet now and then, but I mean, it's not as bad as the dialogue. Like, it doesn't hurt the film as much as that does, and the dialogue really does hurt the film. Like, as much as I love the Obi-Wan sections, I can't call this film good. I can't. It's not a good film. It's slightly below mediocre. I gave it a 4 out of 10 in my review. In my live tweeting of it, to be exact, which once again you can read in the description below. But yeah, this one I did not see in cinemas. By the way, I only saw episode 1, episode 3 in cinemas, and episode 7. But yeah, I do love the ending though with on Geonosis, because first of all you get some actual funny slapstick in there with C-3PO and R2-D2. There's a lot of fun stuff there. It's silly, but it's fun. And of course, when all the Jedi's draw their lightsabers, and it's because that was just such a moment, and I like that. And of course, Mace Windu with his purple lightsaber was awesome. And this is the which Mace Windu are you again? Star Wars. I think it's Star Wars like Saga Legends or something from 1 or 2 years ago. Yay! You think it's this boy? That's episode 1. I can't remember anything he says in episode 2. He's like, Anakin, don't do that. Yeah, wave goodbye. We're done here.